Chapter 2. Verse. The city of Philadelphia was a bustling one, to say the least. Horse-drawn carriages flooded streets lined with tourists and residents alike. A plume of smoke rose in the distance, the sure sign of the Friendship Express pulling into the train station. The entire city gave off a strange feeling of nostalgia through its tourist attractions, mainly through places like the Franklin Institute and the Philadelphia Zoo, the first public zoo in the history of Eastern Equestria. As Vinyl and Breakbeat stepped out into this world, they couldn't help but feel overcome by the choices of destination. So many places and only a few hours to visit them before their parents, or at least Breakbeat's parents, went berserk with worry. After crossing the street back onto Thunderhoof Road from the school, Breakbeat made a suggestion. You know, my parents always hold my hoof when we go out in public. His blue cheeks went purple with blush for a moment. Maybe we should? I mean for safety, of course. Wouldn't want to get lost out there, you know? His faithful friend smiled and tilted her head, looking into his eyes crookedly. Nah, I'll be fine. Vinyl struck Breakbeat's shoulder lightly with a hoof. I'm tougher than I look, you know. Now where should we go first? Museum? I know it sounds boring, but there's some pony there I think you'd like to see. We'll go there, and when we're done, we can just hang around town. Don't worry, I'll get you home on time. Maybe. After rubbing the wound from Vinyl's blow, which was, much like herself, tougher than it seemed, Breakbeat took a moment to smile. There it was, the infamous rebellious spirit of the filly, Vinyl Scratch. Behind all of her momentary lapses of self-control, it had always been there. That sounds great, Vinny. When do you wanna— Right now, duh! Come on! Vinyl began to gallop down the sidewalk, and Breakbeat followed suit. Vinyl was fast. No, very fast. Every pony in class knew that much. The way she could maneuver her way through crowds was unmatched even by the earth colts she knew, most likely as a result of the intense amount of running she had done after being caught sneaking into umpteen buildings. Of course, she did have her off days. That morning in particular was strange for Vinyl. She'd never been so clumsy. Perhaps it was the stress of the previous night, and perhaps it was the anticipation she had due to the fact that she was about to see her best friend for the first time in months. She wasn't really sure, and she didn't really care. Come on, Vinny, wait up! Vinyl stopped dead in her tracks to check behind her, where, a good 20 feet away, Breakbeat was still catching up. After a good 3 or 4 seconds, he caught up to his restless friend. Seriously, Breaker, you gotta learn to pick up your pace. You only have a few hours before your parents totally lose it, remember? Vinyl tapped her hoof on the ground with impatience. Yeah, I know, but please, Vinny, can you slow down? A pant escaped Breakbeat as he tried to catch his breath. He'll get on a lot of nerves if you just run in the way of every pony. Vinny exhaled strongly. Okay, fine, if that's what you want. Come on, let's go to the museum. Together, the two ponies made their way slowly to the turn back onto Starswirl Street, talking and laughing along the way. So my brother had another gig last month. Breakbeat had turned to Vinyl as they walked. His brother, Blastbeat, was a bit of a metalhead, but had been trying to branch out from the drums, despite the fact that he already had his cutie mark. He was a bit of a nut, or at least Breakbeat. Oh, Celestia, what instrument did he play this time? Vinyl had smirked. Guitar. He broke 2 strings, and at the end of the show he just tossed it in the air, broke it into a million pieces. He's such a numbskull. Breaker had let out a laugh that would have filled the streets had they been empty. However, as the two turned onto Starswirl Street, they each remembered simultaneously that the streets were not, in fact, empty. Starswirl Street was booming, as usual. Business ponies trotted down the streets to their latest appointments, while a group of socialite mares wearing the newest dresses approved by the up-and-coming fashion critic Hoity-Toity gawked at passers-by that they deemed unfashionable, completely ignoring the fact that many of these passers-by were not wearing clothes in the first place. When looking out at Philadelphia, which had sported a population of over 30,000, the third highest in Equestria, Breaker's suggestion to hold hooves made perfect sense. Some pony could easily get lost. Every pony seems really busy today, Breakbeat observed. I wonder if the museum is going to be this crowded. Vinyl chuckled. Did you really just use the words crowded and museum in the same sentence? Nah, it's not gonna be crowded, but it's gonna be noisy. Now come on, let's go. Vinyl sped up to a slow trot, passing by the residential buildings of Star Swirl Street as Breaker followed. Ignoring the turn onto Skyfang Lane, the duo found themselves in the first business area of Star Swirl Street. Skyfang was, as everybody knew, the captain of the Wonderbolts. Remembering a conversation about the Wonderbolts he had once heard, Breakbeat struck one of his own. "You know what I heard?" Breaker exclaimed as he trotted down the sidewalk. "I heard that Skyfang Street is named after the captain of a team of Pegasi called the Wonderbolts. Isn't that an awesome name?" Yeah, but Skyfang's getting old. He doesn't have more than 5 years left in him. There's even a rumor that the newbie, Spitfire, is going to take over. That's what my dad's friend said, anyway. Breakbeat let out a sigh and cantered up to Vinyl's side. "Your parents and their friends are the only ponies you ever hang out with. Don't you want to play with me, Vinny?" Breakbeat tilted his head down, obviously distraught. With a touch of her hoof against his chin, Vinyl responded. "You think I don't want to hang out with you? No. It's my parents. They've never let me see any pony. But I couldn't try to tell them to. They think I'm just a dumb fool or something. You're an awesome bud, Breaker. Don't forget it." Vinyl let a warm smile escape her, something she only showed to her closest friend. "Okay, Vinny. You've got to talk to them sometime. They're taking over your life." Vinyl stopped in her tracks. "Yeah," she said. "I know. It's not your problem, though." She smiled. "Now come on, let's go already. Enough hold-ups." She trotted down the seemingly endless sidewalk. As the two traveled together, they noticed a pair of ponies outside a local bar. "Miss Moonshine, I think you've had enough," the indigo mare said to the younger, light blue mare, who held a mug of cider in her hoof. "Are you kidding?" The mare with the mug of cider on her flank rejoined. "I'm only half through with my fourth. I can go for at least another 3 cans. You want to make a big deal about it? You want to fight?" She spoke slurred words, swinging her free hoof around widely. No, I just think that you..." The words faded out as the young pair of unicorns laughed and walked away. For a fleeting moment, as Vinyl and Breakbeat passed an alley, Breakbeat thought he could see the figure of a little pony in the narrow crevice. Shaking the sight off, Breaker turned to his companion and asked, "How much further until we get to the museum? My hooves are killing me." "Well, there's the radio tower, so it should be..." She pointed her hoof at the tower and trailed off to the left. "Right there." She settled her hoof in mid-air, directed at a large building checkered with panes of glass that varied in color. Breakbeat and Vinyl never ceased to be amazed by the building, which seemed to shine with every color in the spectrum when the sun struck it. The Philadelphian Museum of Modern Music was without a doubt the greatest sight in the city, and every pony knew it. "Just a little further, come on!" Vinyl galloped away, as she had always done when excited, and with a sigh, Breaker followed. "Hey, you're that jerk filly from this morning." Vinyl heard a voice and skidded to a halt, at which point Breakbeat was able to catch up. After turning around, Vinyl found herself in front of a familiar green stallion who seemed perfectly comfortable approaching a little pony with hostility in the air. "And who are you supposed to be?" Vinyl lowered her eyes with disinterest. "I'm sorry, but I've got to get to the museum over there." Again, she pointed her hoof to the multicolored building. "There's a pony there that I gotta introduce my friend to." She pointed to Breakbeat, who was catching his breath. "I'm the pony that lost a perfectly good sandwich to you this morning, and I don't care where you're going. You owe me, you little thief. You're lucky I don't find out who your parents are, and their names are Mezzo-Soprano and Paradiddle. Give them a call if you want. It's not like I care one way or the other. And for the record, you've been holding the sandwich thing against me all day. Sounds like you're wasting your time." Vinyl cut him off her own half of the speech. "Mezzo-Soprano? Paradiddle? So you're the punk daughter of those two. You'd think they, of all ponies, would be able to teach Folsom manners." He muttered the latter statement under his breath loudly enough to allow Vinyl to hear every heavily enunciated word. "Yeah, you think they would. Now stop worrying about that sandwich. Breakbeat, you mind giving this elf a few bits? I'll give you a double back, my parents' treat." Breaker pulled a small bag of bits out of his saddlebag with his mouth and tossed it to the stallion. "You can't use magic? At your age? Seriously?" The green pony asked Breakbeat, disappointed at the colt's disuse of magic. "Oh, I can use magic. I just don't want to waste any on some stranger. There's about 15 silver bits in that bag. You can get tons of sandwiches with them. Now leave my friend alone, or I'll show you what kind of magic I can use." He spoke with an overdramatic confidence. "Well, that's just not going to do it." The agitated stallion telekinetically lifted his new bag of bits to his side. "I've got to teach your friend a lesson about stealing." Vinyl laughed off this farcical notion. "Well, you've got to get me first." The boisterous filly galloped off toward the museum, leaving Breakbeat behind. "Oh, I don't think so." The green unicorn started to give chase to Vinyl before being stopped in his tracks by Breakbeat, who would have nearly slammed his face against the pursuer's own had he not been the cautious pony he was. "Don't you think you should give her a head start?" Breakbeat's horn glowed light blue for a split second before releasing a small burst of pure force, knocking the stallion onto his back. Seeing Vinyl galloping away, he cantered off to her, leaving the shocked victim of sandwich theft to recompose himself on his own. "Hey, Vinyl, slow down. I don't think he's going to come after us after all," Breakbeat called to his friend, who turned around. "Really?" she replied simply. "What did you do?" "Pulled out a trick my brother taught me in one of his gigs. Invisible energy wave, great for hitting drums in case you drop a stick." "Nice. You better show it to me sometime." The two bumped hooves and picked up where they left off on their little journey. The rest of the walk to the museum didn't include further descriptions or detours, thankfully for them, though Breakbeat did at one point find a pigeon that had done its business on him, which Vinyl must have found to be the most amusing thing in Equestria, as she fell to the ground in laughter. As they continued to walk, thoughts swarmed Vinyl Scratch's mind. You'd think they of all ponies would be able to teach a foal some manners, that stallion had said. Another pony trying to take away any thoughts of me being my own pony. What's so great about Mom and Dad? The unicorn was beginning to grow weary of the thoughts she harbored behind closed doors. When the trio arrived at the museum, the first things they noticed, as always, were the rays of refracted light that bounced off of each colored glass pane and hit the ground, which allowed the stone that the friends stood on to erupt in a gorgeous makeshift rainbow, tantalizing each of them for a moment. As always, Vinyl was the one to shatter the calming atmosphere around them. "Hey, Equestria to Breaker, it's your pal Vinyl, come on, let's go!" She flailed a hoof in front of Breakbeat's face, snapping him out of his trance.